Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Moohead Radio. I am Stephanie A. Smith, and to commemorate such a special day as the day after the Super Bowl, we are going to begin the show in a very special way. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Moohead Radio Poet Laureate.
Thank you so very much. Glove is love. Patrick Mahomes went flat. Is he really only Pat? And then there's Andy Reid, whose son was doing speed, causing a 5-year-old to bleed. Even if they give me a discount, I won't be streaming Paramount. Tom Selleck forcing me out of my home, selling me reverse mortgage loans. The weekend came and went, wondering what dancing jockstraps meant. NFL anti-racism so slick, without honesty or Kaepernick. Robert Kraft exposed his dick, became a loser really quick. A world full of conspiracies, a first half full of penalties, all against one team. Regardless of which team won, my 15 minutes of fame is done. But millions of people saw me, and I'm lucky, because more than the 3 who remember Snooki. And now I am older and wiser. The show will begin. So grabs you a Budweiser.
Bravo, that was great.
Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the big and furry bovine.
Way to reach out over the fucking Appalachians for that Snooki reference.
My God. I mean, it's like...
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. It's, hey, but she's a poet laureate, God damn it. God damn it. She's knows what she's doing. So, how is everybody today? I'm in a sarcastic mood, You notice that reference, the weekend came and went? Yeah, the weekend. Yeah. The weekend. That would be a better name for that halftime act.
WEAK.
What the fuck was that? Hey, man, I'm lost here in a fun house. What the fuck is this?
I don't know. I missed it. I was having a fucking seizure 47 fucking times.
God, I was just about, it's like epileptics. We're like, really fucked up a bunch of people watching the Super Bowl, which wasn't so super. I have an interesting take on this, and I'm sure that, we have a great panel today. We got Derek Frisbee of DF Sports. We've got Brian, we've got Tony, and we've got, of course, our resident Stephanie A. Smith. And she's got some, I'm sure, strong opinions about something. But quite honestly, what I have to say, I haven't heard from any other source, so I'm going to say it. And this is something that we'll keep an eye on. The thing about playing the quarterback position, because all eyes and now all the talking heads are talking about Tom Brady and how, he's definitely the GOAT. Nobody's going to argue that he won big and he played big when it counted. Nobody's going to question that. He had a desire to win. Nobody will question that. And he's 43 years old. But I look at it differently. See, as far as Tom Brady's concerned, he was the greatest of all time to begin with. It was never Bill Belichick, and it's been proven this year anyway. Belichick couldn't win without him. But he could win without Belichick and his silly system. All right? So if you want to go back to that conversation, you can go back with me years ago and argue that out with me. All right? But time proves everything. But it's the other side. It's the other side that's the situation. Patrick Mahomes played the most cowardly quarterback game in Super Bowl history. And look, it's not that I have anything against Patrick Mahomes, but we heard so much, we saw so much, and he could not overcome what was in front of him. That wasn't necessarily just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was his toe, of all things. You've heard of the Achilles heel? Well, this is the Achilles toe. Yes, he was limping and he wasn't as mobile as he would normally be. But you know something? The offensive line could not hold the tidal wave back. No, I'm not going back. And it was protection that he lacked. No, I'm not going to do that. He didn't have good protection.
Well, there were a hell of a lot of drop passes, too. I mean, he was hitting guys in the fucking face mask.
I'm not done. This is where it starts. It's not where it finishes. He took snaps, and instead of dropping back into the pocket, he just ran backwards. Ah! He panicked.
Felt like 2018 Browns or whenever last year.
That's right.
2019.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2019.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like Deshaun Kaiser. Ah, throw it up in the air. I'm 3/4 of the way down there.
Except he didn't have 7 fumbles.
Yeah, well.
5 of them lost.
Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true or not, but my coworker told me I forget how he said it, backfield running, so meaning like side to side, within the pocket, I guess you could say, behind the line of scrimmage, trying to get somebody open. He said, like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, total of 500 or more yards doing that, just running around.
Yeah, he honestly, but it wasn't just, the play can't be designed for him to take the snap and go back 15 yards. I'm sorry. There ain't no play designed that way. And they kept doing it over and over again. It was like he was afraid of a pass rush before there was a pass rush. And I have to believe it was because of his foot. You got to play with injuries. And you know something? What I said to some people after the game, and I said it mockingly, is that, oh hell, I'd rather have Baker than have Mahomes. But Baker played with busted up ribs. And this guy couldn't overcome a toe issue. Cowardly is the word that I use. And even he, after the game, had a lot to say about his bozo performance in this. To put it nicely.
No, do it in the Kermit voice. Do it in the Kermit voice like him. Come on, you do your impressions. You got to have one.
I don't have an impression of him, except that he was cowardly on the day of the Super Bowl. I don't have an impression of him. It's the worst I've been beaten in a long time. Well, it wasn't just you, son. Somebody ought to tell these athletes, the worst I was beaten. You? I say the whole team got thrashed. They were the better team today, Mahomes said. You think? They beat us pretty good. The worst I think I've been beaten in a long time. They pressured him 29 times. And yes, he was under pressure, but he's supposed to be an extemporaneous kind of quarterback. That's supposed to be what his calling is. And his receivers are supposed to be like just part of the greater whole, that when he's scrambling out of the pocket, they come back to the ball and they have chemistry. That was what we were told anyway.
Well, and notice they didn't hardly run the football at all. And when they did, it seemed like Edwards-Helaire was able to get pretty big chunks at a time.
Yeah, well, I mean, they lived and died by the forward pass. I'll tell you something else. Every long ball that he threw was nowhere near the receivers. Ball was wobbling. I'm just telling you what I saw. He looked like a nervous Nelly out there, and there was nothing about his performance that made me feel that he even belonged there.
Well,
And
remember,
he did belong there, but nothing in that performance showed me that.
remember last year's Super Bowl as well. He didn't look great for the first 3 quarters. Fourth quarter comes out blazing and they win. So maybe it's just a Super Bowl thing for him.
Well, whatever the hell it is, he's won one and he's lost one. And no, this isn't going to define him for the rest of his life, but tell it like it is at least. I mean, he was running for his life before he had to run for his life. Next, you're right, Brian. Limited throws were thrown where they should be, went through hands, hit people in the face mask. They got dropped, or they got called back by penalties in the first half, which was, of course, much to the chagrin of the audience that already knew the WWE script in this one and that Tom Brady had to win. Look, the referees came out and did their job, didn't they? I mean, and I'm not, but there was nothing at all about the Chiefs that told me that they were in this to win it.
No, but at the same time, I mean, I've watched enough professional wrestling in my life to tell who's supposed to be the winner, and that was very clear here. Even if the Chiefs didn't come to play at all, which clearly they didn't, or at least if they did, I don't know what they were doing. But I mean, it was just some moments in that game where it was like, yeah, of course they get the flag there because it's Brady. And I tell you what, I'm not trying to promote my own video, but I'm just saying there was a guy who commented on one of my halftime video because I basically said, hey, listen, they're getting calls here. This isn't basically they're definitely favoring one team. This guy said he's been a Bucs fan his whole life. He said they've never gotten calls, and he said he noticed at the beginning of the year versus the Saints, he said we got all the calls in that game, and it continued throughout the whole season. He said it's a Brady thing.
Well, and of course it is. I mean, we're grown-ups here. We can talk about this kind of shit. I mean, when LeBron came back to Cleveland, you think that Kevin Love materialized out of thin air? I mean, players just start showing up. It's like Gronkowski. Hey, I'm healthy again. I want to play. You know, I'm surprised. Fucking.
Not only does he want to play, he wants to come back now.
I'm sorry.
Not only does he want to play, he wants to come back now.
Yeah, sure. And, they brought in people all over the field. They were loaded with really good players, and they were better than what I thought they were. I'll be quite honest with you. But it helps with the other teams playing at half speed. And that's what's the case. I mean,
but we did kind of get a preview when they were way up on the Packers, 28-10. So this was a possibility because Aaron Rodgers does play very much like Patrick Mahomes.
Well, look, obviously their defense peaked, and that's a great thing. And their offense is steady and definitely did what it had to do. But I got to tell you, Leonard Fournette running that ball all the way into the end zone in the third quarter, they quit. The Chiefs just quit. That reminds me of roll the tape on the old Browns. That's what it reminded me of. It's like they're just standing around. They're not even going after anybody. They're playing at half speed.
Well,
what the hell happened here?
One thing I noticed about the Chiefs' offensive game plan, normally it seems like, we always see Tyreek Hill line up kind of in the slot and run across the field. Everything they ran, especially early, because I shut it off after the first half because I really didn't care. But everything I seen in the first half, it took so long to set up. So Mahomes had, 0.2 seconds before he was, like you said, running 15 yards back. It seemed like the play calling was not even remotely smart.
Well, look, I guess what it comes down to is Arians, who's never been a Super Bowl, and he's definitely not a Hall of Fame coach. Okay. And then you have Andy Reid, the Walrus, and Cuckoo Cuckoo. And the Walrus, looked as loaded on the sideline as his son. He just didn't have a death machine that he was driving, okay? Not to be tasteless. It was a horribly called game. Everything about it. The execution was horrible. They didn't tackle well. They didn't pursue angles well. They didn't do anything well. They didn't score a touchdown the entire game. Hell, we would have had a more entertaining Super Bowl with the Cleveland Browns in there against the Bucks. Honestly, this team just flat out they just shit the bed.
Speaking of tackling, how in the world did those two security guards not get that guy down on the first try when he ran onto the field? That was just embarrassing. I mean, he broke that tackle, broke the security guard's tackle, and ran straight into the end zone like he was playing football.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
hilarious.
And it's all nice that it happened in Tampa. It's a great feel-good story for the area here, and that's.
Guy looked like he was missing part of his uniform.
What is this, Stephanie?
I said that guy looked like he was missing part of his uniform.
What part of his uniform was he missing?
He was missing the bottom part, especially, but all out on the field.
So who was it? Was it a healthcare worker? Because that was supposedly the only people allowed in. Did this guy take off his scrubs?
No, not. You had to be vaccinated to get in, but not. It was just not all healthcare workers. There was 22,000 seats. There were scalpers on the streets of Tampa Bay yesterday afternoon.
Stephanie, what is a scrub?
He's the guy that can't get no love from me. That's who he is.
Yeah, a scrub is a god. That's what thinks he's fly.
Also known as a buster.
But not Douglas.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. This is all not practiced, folks. I don't know what anyone's going to say on this program any more than anyone knows what the hell I might say on this program.
I do have some things to say. I have some very strong opinions about what I witnessed last night on the Super Bowl. But first and foremost, I want to say that my number one takeaway is that I was right about the winner, Mr. Moohead, and you were wrong. Now, the second thing I want to say is I didn't expect what I witnessed last night. I thought the score was going to be close. I didn't know that Kansas City was going to catch a beat down. They caught a beat down.
I love how the cat sits up like, uh-oh, something's happening.
That cat looks like he might have to attack my leg again like he did that night that the Browns won the playoff game.
He was laying down. You started going. He sat up like something was about to go down.
He's looking at me like, girl, you better cut that out.
Uh-oh. There he goes.
Yeah, there he goes.
He's going to fight. Or eat. One of the two.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think, watching this game and, the aftermath of the game is really funny. You saw Tom Brady going at it with the Honey Badger, right? Honey Badger put something up on his Twitter feed that he rapidly put down. Did anybody happen to hear about this?
Yeah, I saw that.
Something.
He's claimed that Tom Brady called him a word that he would not name. He would not repeat on here. Which, if that's the case,
so is he going to get treated the same that we did about Myles Garrett? Because everybody said Myles Garrett was full of crap. Are we going to say the same about Tyrann Mathieu?
Well, Tyrann Mathieu's walked it back. I will give Myles Garrett credit. He stuck with it for, he wasn't so quick to dismiss that Mason Rudolph, might have said the F word that nobody really knows, but Tyrann Mathieu deleted it right away. So I don't believe Tyrann Mathieu for 1 minute. Plus, Brady was mic'd up. Brady was mic'd up for the game.
Yeah, and look, whatever it was, Brady came after him and did have something to say to him. Now, afterwards, Brady was overly praising him. And
supposedly he texted him some long text message apologizing. So, if it was for if it was the N word, there wouldn't be all this pomp and circumstance.
There's 1,000,001 things to call. I think like "you bitches" would be the thing that would come out. I mean, they were just getting their ass kicked all over the.
I mean, if anything, maybe he might have slipped and called him like a monkey or something, which.
No! And this is the problem. If you're not going to say what somebody said, and you're going to leave it up to the imagination, of the population at large, the way everyone thinks today with all this divisiveness, then you're going to give people an impression that isn't true.
People are going to assume the worst.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, the battle was determined on the field as it should be, and the victor is obvious. So,
I thought it was hilarious, though, when every time Brady started chatting with him, it just looked like your drunk uncle yelling at your dad or something. It was hilarious. You just see him turn and just, I don't know. It was funny.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting, because I've seen it so much in my life. The NBA is the Hallmark League for the Michael Jordan show, when you look at the guys who were the biggest names in the biz, like Larry Bird, they had to do something with Larry Bird because he was a white guy who could play. All right. But my God, if you so much as breathed on him, I mean, he would fall down. They would just call fouls. And he actually injured his own back by falling so many times, pretending that there was contact initiated. But you always knew that it was going to somehow be like the fucking leprechaun. The league would always do it in such a way that it's like, the Celtics will come back again. What was his name? Johnny Most. Oh, the Celtics have come back again for the 7,525th time.
Hey, by the way, Tony Romo, so annoying. I mean, I know we say this all the time, but it's like, oh my gosh.
I think Romo is normally a pretty good announcer, but last night was one of his worst games ever.
Well, what are you going to say about something that when one team isn't even putting out? I mean, it really, if somebody would have told me, if it were a boxing match, I'd say that guy just laid down. That team just laid down. They did not at all play like they had played all year. There just wasn't a bit of pep in their step whatsoever. It was really peculiar. Really peculiar.
Question. So, you don't have to agree. I'm not even saying this is what I think, but I heard people talking about, as far as like the questionable calls, rather, everybody was saying that it was coming from the lady who happened to be reffing. And the explanation I heard, or the theory I heard, was they had her do it so that if you were to blame the refs, you would look bad because she happened to be the first calling the game. Do you think there's anything to that?
I think there's something to that. I actually do. That makes sense to me. I mean, you're going to blame it on the woman, right? Go ahead and blame it on the woman.
I think you would have done a better job, honestly.
I would have had to put my glasses on out there on the field now. I don't need them right here in front of the screen, but I would have needed these on the field. I could have called those plays a lot better, I believe.
Now, let me ask you this, Stephanie. How would you have handled the Tom Brady, Tyrann Mathieu confrontation as a ref?
Confrontation, I would have just minded my own business and not made a comment about it at all, which is what I'm going to do right here today.
So you would have let them fist fight?
Well, they flagged, the honey badger. They flagged him, and it's just the way the whole first half went. I thought was really lame. I really do. I thought that the officiating was poor.
I just laughed at it.
It didn't matter. I mean, and you know what was incredible? They're only down 14-6. If they don't give up that hinky drive at the end. Where 60 of the yards, I think, were propelled by the officials. They go into halftime, and if they regrouped, they score one touchdown and could tie the game with a 2-point conversion.
Well, they made history for the most penalty yards in the first half.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that last drive, which was in my mind the backbreaker, the absolute backbreaker.
You're talking about before half?
That's right.
Yep. I agree.
That whole thing was just propelled by penalties. That was it. Nobody did nothing except they threw flags. I mean, I think there was more downfield yardage from the distance the flags were tossed than the football. Yeah.
Well, and then what they call it, defensive holding that put them right on the one. I mean, that was just
on and on and on and on it goes. I mean, it was. Yeah, they made sure they scored. Let's put it that way. And thank you for remembering me, Chad. I'm still here, except I'm in heaven. All the way up there. Upstairs.
Well, where's your echo then? You in heaven, where's the echo?
I've reduced the echo so I can be understood more. Let me tell you something about the Celtics, Stephanie A. Smith. Back when I was an announcer, we had me and Tom Gorman, white people. They were white people announcing the games. We didn't need deep thought opinions. We didn't ask for those opinions. We gave those opinions. That's what made Boston great. It's an Irish Catholic town.
Well, you know what's even greater? It's the diversity that's on the team of the Buccaneers. And look, they are the Super Bowl champions. So what you got to say about diversity? It's a good thing.
Bailey Howell. That's what I have to say. All right, enough of Tommy Hanks.
Hey, how about Andy Reid's mask that looks like a bird nest was sitting in front of his face?
Andy Reid, man.
Did you see that?
Yeah, there was nothing good that I can think of to say about the whole performance. And you want to know what's even more amazing is the thing that's more important, which is the gambling end of things. The Chiefs are installed as Super Bowl favorites for next year.
Yep.
At 11-1.
Can I make a prediction?
Sure, make a prediction. Go right ahead.
I'm predicting that next year's Super Bowl, I don't know if this would be history, I'd have to remember. I'm predicting that next year's Super Bowl, both starting quarterbacks will be African American, and that will be the big historic, I don't want to say storyline, but the big deal.
Well, that would cut out the Browns.
Unfortunately,
I don't think the Browns are going to be in the Super Bowl next year. I mean,
I'll give it the year after that.
I mean, are there two? I mean, what are we going to do? Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson?
No, I would say probably Patrick Mahomes would lock
Mahomes
up.
is black. He's whiter than fucking Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Well, they're gonna say it. I mean, my best friend Nick,
Blackish.
yeah.
African American. He is. That's how he identifies. Just like Stephanie A. Smith identifies as a man.
How fucking dare you? I don't like to use bad language on the show. Now and then you need to get cussed out.
Somebody please cut that up, please. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I'm gonna use that as my ringtone.
The very best Moohead shows are starting now, all right? Because there isn't a whole lot going to be left to talk about. And so,
what did we call this? The black hole in space?
Yeah, that's right. It takes on a very extemporaneous thing, and we just have fun with it. Let's see what Keyblade's saying. When the Honey Badger came down with the pick, they called the flag, and the flag came back. That's when I knew the last of whatever momentum the Chiefs had was sucked away. And by the time that last drive, I think that, again, that halftime, right before the half drive, where the official said they're getting it in the end zone, and they're calling holding on plays that are just like, I remember so many plays where the Browns would run a guy down the sidelines deep and their legs would get tangled up and we're waiting for the flag and there's no flag.
Mm-hmm.
And there you have it there. It's like the guy slips down and bang, they get intertwined and it's a flag,
That's why I shut it off. I just laughed. I stood up and I said, you know what? This has already been decided. What's the point of even watching it? Well, I went to bed early.
I told you, this comes up all the time. This is what people remember me for. Isn't it terrible?
How many years ago was that?
A number of years. And I'm not exactly sure because it all gets lost in my mind. But that I actually made the noise early in the show. That's the noise that I made when I...
It's on the internet somewhere, right?
Oh, it is. I actually put it up in the Moohead archives.
Did you?
Yeah.
What'd you do with that chair? Do you still have it?
Do I still have that chair? Yes, but no longer with casters on it. And it's the chair that Stephanie A. Smith is sitting in right now.
I knew
Don't
that
lean
chair
back.
was familiar.
I'd love to
back.
see Stephanie A. Smith fall on her ass.
Tony, you better be glad you sat here with care. That you were very careful, because there's no carpet underneath this chair.
We know he peed on the floor, for Christ's sake. We know that.
No, Chad still got that video on YouTube of it's really grainy and terrible, but him laughing is here. I'm hurt. Help, I'm hurt.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Yeah. Well, D-cup toe juice, but that's the thing is when the worm turns, the worm turns. When the league business needs to get done, it gets done. And so many times the Browns were always a laughing stock. And so we were always on the wrong side of the calls. But you gotta wonder, Andy Reid's got his hardware. Patrick Mahomes has his hardware. They can't piss and moan about it. They won last year. And they were there this year. They just didn't play for shit. It would be one thing if they would have come out robustly in the second half. Instead, they just watched Leonard Fournette. You know what that's like? That's like watching a Nash Rambler kick your ass off the starting line. Give me a break. Chad will like that. He like Nash Rambler references. Chad and I go back with automobiles.
You know what? I when thinking about this game, I figured they would go with, because it was either Brady wins and we go with that whole thing as legacy, whatever, without Bill and all that, or Mahomes, the young guy, overthrows. You can't see me, but air quotes overthrows the named GOAT and becomes the new placeholder. I thought that's where they were going to go with it, because I'm thinking long term, obviously Mahomes would be set up anyway as the face of the NFL, but I didn't think that they would be so heavily Brady friendly. I thought they would at least try to make it so that Mahomes looks good. So long term, they can use that, saying, "Look what he did against Brady."
Yeah, and Chad said it was 9 years ago that I fell. How about that? Time just flies by. Yeah, and I want to see that reaction video. Send me the link to that. That's something that I definitely want. I never saw your reaction video.
Can we play it on the show?
I saw was Kermit the Frog's reaction video to Two Girls in a Cup.
Oh, jeez. I got shown that on a bus in like the 5th grade or something. That's horrible.
You watched that? Hey, I bet you never wanted to eat soft serve ever again.
No.
Okay. Dairy Queen stock went.
Literally,
correct. Yeah, I want to see the reaction video to that. I got something for you, Stephanie, and I'm going to put you on full screen. So that this is the biggest loser in yesterday's game was who, Stephanie?
The biggest loser on yesterday's game? Are we talking about somebody besides the weekend?
Yeah, somebody besides the weekend.
I don't know. Why don't you tell
Miley
me?
Cyrus.
Why don't you tell me who the biggest loser was of yesterday's game?
Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, who suddenly was unable to draw up a scheme that could defeat the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the guy who's been passed up for being a head coach twice and now will never be invited ever again.
And see, this is the type of thing that I'm talking about. They will definitely use this as an excuse to not promote that man the way that he should rightfully be promoted, as if they already needed an excuse. They didn't need an excuse when they kept him in the place that he is right now, but now they have that excuse, and they're going to use it.
Yeah.
Do you think he might just end up taking over for whatever his name is? I forgot.
Andy Reid, the Walrus. Yeah, well, I mean, anything is possible, I suppose. Right now, I don't think that he's, the reason I bring this up is because this headline just kills me. I always love these politically correct, inaccurate, bullshit, NFL-sponsored sites that come up with this. Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich, Super Bowl victory, a big win for black coaches. Not if you're Eric Bieniemy. You just got replaced. They took your spot in line, Eric. They're going to be the next ones rejected.
Well, Bowles was already a head coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. He was in Arizona, which was
in New York, right?
Jets head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the DC in Arizona.
Which is
Bruce Arians.
That's almost as bad as Kyrie in Boston. Uh-oh. And let me tell you this. Is that better? I got my reverb on.
I still will never believe that you are in heaven.
The bottom line is this. I told you Kyrie wouldn't last long in my town. You know how I know? I know because the J.C. Penney's sell pillowcases with eye holes on them. That's how I knew. All right. Yeah. But I mean, so now it's Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich. Like Byron Leftwich is suddenly a head coach candidate. And they got to have these guys lined up for the Looney Rule, right?
Yeah.
The non officiated Looney Rule, and
just wait till they start including non-binaries in that one.
No, I'll tell you what's incredible. It's named after an old dead white guy. You know, why don't they call it the Charlton Heston Rule? I mean, we can just change the name to any number of dead white men. Why wouldn't the rule bear the name of an influential black person? Because there aren't any in the NFL. They never let any. And know what we get instead by the NFL?
Art Shell.
We get this bizarre rendering of Vince Lombardi. What the fuck was that all about? That was worse than Sean Astin doing Newt Rockne and Rudy. Honest to God, what did they do? They digitized him.
That even leaves me speechless.
The one of Tupac they did at Coachella that one year, that was actually not bad.
This was positively, children went to bed early, frightened to death. You know, it's like, I saw Vince Lombardi. It's like, why is he wearing a hockey mask? I mean, it was fucking, that was fucked up. But it's always
put down the chainsaw.
Dead white men, you know?
Hey, by the way, how long till they named the Defensive Player of the Year, the Aaron Donald Defensive Player of the Year?
You know, the players, it's one thing. They die young, but nobody really gets the chance. You know, the Rooney Rule was a joke to begin with. They're not serious about, and now, you know what they've done? And this is the way you kind of disperse things out. Now it's not just black people. We're not worried about, never mind the fact that over 70% of the athletes playing the game are African American. It isn't about that now. It's diversity. So we can take guys named Pedro. Well, I could be a head coach too. And then women. That now it's a big deal. You saw how many of Bruce Arians' support staff are women. So what they do is like, we're just going to take our eyes off the black people and we're going to start promoting women. And
What
they
are you
won't.
talking about? His quarterback's a woman.
Yeah.
Yes, my fundamental hate for Tom Brady will never end.
Would you say he was the Antichrist?
He is the Antichrist.
Well,
He's gotten away with more bullshit than any other player in the history of the NFL.
So if Tom Brady's the Antichrist, is the mark of the beast going to be a deflated football?
All I know is this, that the more they have people who they can choose from as being diverse, and nobody gets anywhere. Nobody ever gains any traction whatsoever. That's the game. And it's
because
really,
you're taking away the meritocracy of it. That's the problem. And there are qualified black coaches that do deserve a chance. And there are deserved black coaches in the college ranks who deserve a chance.
But I also think that, like, if they constantly are pointing it out, making it seem like it's not normal, I think that also hurts other coaching candidates, who are black. Because if you're constantly saying, hey, this person is of this gender or this race, and that, to me, that doesn't normalize it. If you're constantly bringing attention to it, I mean, I could be wrong there, but
I mean, we might as well hire Whoopi Goldberg because she's a black lesbian now.
Well, I think when it starts to become the norm and it's not, this is a history-making event because there's a woman doing this job, then it can stop being mentioned. Let's go ahead and normalize diversity, and then it can stop being mentioned.
well, and it's like players, it's like you said, 75% or more are African American. I mean, that's not, we don't make a big deal. Well, I guess they do make a big deal if, certain positions are or whatever, but it's not like it's not normal. You know what I'm saying? So, if we stop judging a coach off of their race instead of off of, are they a good coach or not? And I know we can argue about, hey, does the organization not want,
look, you know what I can tell you?
And that's what I was saying about the being a meritocracy instead of, identity politics. And that's what this boils down to. No. It's not going after the most qualified person. It's just checking a box to make sure that everyone is included. Everybody gets a participation trophy. Fuck that shit. This is football. There are winners and there are losers.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just simple. If Kevin Stefanski can come into the league with 1 year's experience as an offensive coordinator and come in and he studied up, he learned under good people, and he got a hold of a team that nobody wanted to coach for. Let's be honest. The reason that Stefanski got the job was because they had run out of options. The Browns had passed on Stefanski the year earlier, and just because they were just content to make the wrong decisions year after year.
And here again, he would not have the staff that he has if all of the people were under contract with other teams. He would not have the staff that he has, so he may not have Bill Callahan as the offensive line coach, which makes a gigantic difference in the run game and the pass blocking.
The staff is huge, but I guess what I'm saying is all this talk about, well, let me see your record and your resume. If you showed me as Kevin Stefanski's resume, would I be like, well, there's the NFL Coach of the Year? No. But if you don't give somebody the opportunity, then how is somebody going to succeed? And if the only people who get an opportunity, even of the younger people, even if they're white, black, Hispanic, or whatever, are going to teams that are historically horrible, like you go to what used to be the Browns or the Jets or the Washington football team or whatever, then you're just going to be in a long line of people who fail.
Well,
or
and
the
Kevin-
Dolphins for so many years.
Right. It was just a place where young coaches died.
and Kevin,
Nick Saban couldn't do anything in Miami.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of people who are not equipped, and there are other people who are equipped, but you don't know until you give them an opportunity. I just get sick of the same, if I see Romeo Crennel on the sidelines one more time, whether he's an interim head coach, he's named a head coach, it's like this recycling thing's got to stop. You got to bring fresh blood into the league, just like you do on the field. You got to have players. I mean, so you had an argument before the Super Bowl. Well,
Rob Ryan just got fucking hired again.
Are you kidding me? Who in the hell hired him?
Oh, I forget who, but I think it's an AFC East team.
But the good thing about Kevin we're talking about here is at least he's had a chance to sit and watch for so many years under the same system.
No question.
Ravens hire Rob Ryan as inside linebackers coach.
There's an inside linebackers coach and just not a linebackers coach.
Yep.
That's when you have too much money.
So he's going to be coaching Patrick Queen from now on.
Yeah, I again, all the recycling that goes on in the league, and the people immediately are the offensive coordinators for teams or the defensive coordinators of teams who win the Super Bowl, and then suddenly, and it's all horseshit because a lot of these people never ascend to the position. All they get is bounced around, and when their teams eventually become bad, and I was talking to somebody on the phone about this earlier. I mean, you ride high, Tampa fans, ride high. You are the NFL champions. But with a 43-year-old quarterback who's going to come back next year and a Gronkowski who's going to come back next year, it ain't going to last for long. And you don't have anybody to back up that quarterback. You're going to become the same miserable losing team that you were before Brady and his friends came to town.
I got another prediction.
No, wait. Listen to what I'm saying, people in Tampa. Enjoy the moment like we did in 2016 in Cleveland with LeBron James. Enjoy it. Because you know what you end up with? You end up with LeBron in Los Angeles, and you end up with God only knows Andre Drummond not pretending like he wants to play when he doesn't. And then you got Jetty fucking Osman. It doesn't last for long. You can't replace these players. And Tampa is not a priority market. LeBron made Northeast Ohio a priority because of his name and his value, his marquee value to the league. Once he left Cleveland for the second time, Cleveland went back to what it was after he left the first time. It's,
Well, then there's precedent in Tampa Bay because right after the last Super Bowl win against the Raiders, the team went to fucking shit.
Well, and I think
people got old, people started retiring or moving on. John Lynch moved on to Denver. The team breaks up and you end up with a 4-12 team.
I think if Brady comes back, I don't think he finishes the season. I don't.
You said last night, I know it was in the heat of the moment, but he said he's going to run it back. So Brady will be back. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, you can go out on, a winner, or you can go one more time. And, they brought this assemblage of players together, and you know how it works. I mean, look at the old Florida Marlins, and look at how they ran up and they got all good players. And then as soon as they got the hardware, they sold it all off, right? And then they've become a shit team ever since. Look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've become a shit team. And look, the Buccaneers, with the exception of the one year that Chucky won the thing, and it wasn't even Chucky, it was Tony Dungy who put the thing together. It was Chucky who ended up ruining it, like he's ruining the Raiders. That is what happens. So enjoy it now while you got it. The people who are really the ones to look out for are the teams that have the Lamar Jacksons, a good offensive line and a running game, the Cleveland Browns, who have a good offensive line and a running game. You know, you got Justin Herbert, who's playing, and, you know, he's something that is going to be something special as long as he has time to throw the ball. That's where the future of the league is. They need future marquee names. Enjoy your time now while you've got it, Tampa, because it don't last long.
Did you notice for that award show they didn't even like announce the candidates for that award? They just said the whatever her, I don't even know her name, but she comes out and, well, I'm sorry, I gotta announce this as a Rams fan. It's like, well, you just gave away who won. Aren't you gonna say, well, also up for the award, Justin Jefferson, and you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you just
never
come out.
was anybody else up for it. Look, nobody would have been in Cleveland if it weren't for LeBron, and nobody would have come to Tampa Bay to play football if it weren't for Brady. He's the most valuable player because when he's done, the organization is done. I mean, and you look at the city. The Rays cash in with their $40 million payroll, make it to the playoffs, lose in the first round, the second round, never get the hardware, and that's as good as it gets. And then the Buccaneers were horrible year after year. And that's what people in this part of Florida had to watch. They don't have a basketball team, and Orlando don't count because Orlando hasn't been anything, it seems to me, since Shaq was there.
And can we talk about how Gronk isn't even supposed to be? Gronk's supposed to be a Detroit Lion. He was supposed to be traded and backed out and retired. And now all of a sudden he just magically gets to pick where, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
But he was retired long enough.
That's right.
That he became a unrestricted free agent.
In essence,
it's the old Brett Favre fucking trick.
Yep, that's right. Yep, you stay out and you go hibernate for a little while. Then you go exactly where you want to go.
Hey, do you believe Luck's coming back?
Go ahead.
Do you believe Andrew Luck's coming back? There have been leaked text messages saying he is and whatnot.
I know that the Colts are praying to the baby Jesus that it happens, but you know, without having a quarterback, you're dead in the water. But, you know, Andrew Luck is, it's a stopgap measure even because you don't know how long that's going to last. It's the thing is with young, vibrant bodies, the league, and I'll say this about Bill Belichick, and it won't be good because nothing I say about him is good. Bill Belichick was known as being a defensive genius. Well, I don't know about you, but if you saw the New England Patriots playing defense this year, it's obvious that old Bill hasn't quite caught up to the modern game. And this is what happened even to the digitized Vince Lombardi. They all have their time. By 1970, before he kicked, Lombardi ends up in Washington at 500 and then just kind of goes away. And that's the end. He passes away. You know, nobody stays on top of it forever. The game has changed. It is so fast and furious.
So let me get this straight. I'm just going to say it. The Washington Redskins are famous for quarterbacks breaking their legs and coaches with battling cancer during the regular season.
It's kind of but they have won Super Bowls. So they do have that going for them. But, to me, everything has a marketing purpose. And for the NFL, they've got, this is great, a moment in time. This is Muhammad Ali defeating the late Leon Spinks, who passed away. Very sad story about Leon Spinks. Not only did he die of cancer, he couldn't pronounce the kind of cancer that he had. But having Muhammad Ali in the Superdome come back and beat Leon Spinks, that's a feel-good thing. Wasn't a great fight, but it was a feel-good thing. And that's what this is. It's a feel-good thing. It's like you're getting a good long look at the greatest of all time. Enjoy him now. But that's not the future of the league now. That's the treasured past of the league. So, and they got to get Carson Wentz out of Philadelphia. The league is stepping in because they're saying they've accelerated trade talks on Carson Wentz. Of course.
Rumor has it's the Bears.
If he's going to be anything, he's going to be someplace other than Philadelphia. That's for damn sure. And what that tells Philadelphia Eagles fans is don't be booing Santa Claus. Go after him with a fucking knife and cut his throat open. You're going to be really upset when you see what comes in next, right? It goes downhill. Everything goes downhill. When you blow a first round pick, everything goes downhill quick. And the bleeding is not easily staunched. So this is feel-good stuff. There was an article that just made me break up laughing. It said,
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV.
Yeah, it's like, how did players with Cleveland connections play in the Super Bowl yesterday?
Who the fuck cares?
Well, I mean, I would want my team to be. I want the whole half of the field anyway to be all people with Cleveland connections, so my team is in the game. But
right,
I don't consider Antoine Winfield Jr. Okay, he's the son of an Akron native and former Ohio State Buckeye, Antoine Winfield,
and a pretty damn good pro.
Yeah, but that's not a Cleveland connection. All right, and listen to this. The Chiefs had 3 players from the Cleveland area. Anthony Hitchens is from Lorain. Who cares?
Yeah.
Glenville alum Frank Clark had the Chiefs' only sack of the game versus Brady. He went to Glenville.
Aren't the Kelseys from Ohio?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And Kelsey, Cleveland Heights. Yep. He had 10 passes caught because wide receivers didn't show up. But you know something? How about the game itself? Where are all the great Cleveland Browns players that teams have stripped from the Browns organization? They weren't on that fucking field.
No.
Because they all sucked. Because we had a front office that had a horrible judgment. So there are no players with Cleveland connections out on that field. And you know something? What we have in Cleveland is what we have now. The players who are playing for us, Nick Chubb and all these guys and Baker Mayfield, they're the Cleveland connection.
Wait, didn't that offensive lineman play?
I didn't see him out there. Irving?
No, he's on the Cowboys.
No, Schwartz.
No, he's injured.
Yep.
Austin Ryder was a Brown at one point.
He was a backup with the Browns. Yeah, and he looked the part out there, didn't he?
Yeah, that's about it.
There ain't nobody who's, showing off big in the league saying, oh, God, how could the Browns have let him go? There isn't any of that because they were horrible players. And really, congratulations to Kevin Stefanski. I mean, quite an accomplishment. And there's only one thing harder than winning the NFL's Coach of the Year, and that's next season being good again. We'll see what happens,
Yeah, because now they're going to get an 11-win schedule.
That's right. And you're not going to surprise anybody. People got full year of tape on you and what you do. And, but for us, we have one additional vested year in a system, and a quarterback will actually have a chance to practice with this team in the off season. Or so we think, depending on, what happens with the mutant variant of COVID. Son of COVID, we'll call it.
I just have to say that there is one thing that I am still extremely confused about from last night's Super Bowl, and that is, why is it that there were about 100 guys running around with jock straps on their heads during halftime? Can somebody explain that to me? I don't get it.
It's supposed to be bandages. I think they were practicing to be mummies or something. The zombie apocalypse.
I could not figure that out, to save my soul. And you know what the worst part of it was? I swear one of them had a brown stain in the back of it. Yeah,
I thought one had one in the front, and it was just
yeah. It was.
And
just-
that was the singer.
Yeah,
I saw way too much underwear last night. That's all I'm saying. I run it down the field in his drawers or banana hammock or whatever the fuck that was.
They were
And then
sponsored
these
by
guys
Fruit
are
of the Loom. They were sponsored by Fruit of the Loom.
So, yeah, that.
The grape and the apple were up in the stands.
And then there was, to me, the low point. I mean, there is one thing besides the game itself that makes you want to just get up and leave, which would have been the weekend.
Miley Cyrus?
No, the weekend. That whole thing of being lost in a maze like a rat. I have no idea. But that wasn't it for me. It was the mountain climbing ads from the Paramount Network streaming service.
yeah.
So help me God. I mean, why would you have a fake Spock and a fake Kirk? Because you own the Star.
That's not Kirk. That's actually the other guy, Christopher Pike.
Right. But they're not real people. They're not the actors who portrayed these people.
Well, they're both dead, so Jeffrey Hunter died
from the
like
movie version.
1999.
That wasn't the guy who played Spock in the reboots. I mean, but they own and you know, it's like if Leonard
And
Nimoy,
that's J.J. Abrams for you.
Yeah.
no, if honestly, if Leonard Nimoy was still alive, he would say that's the second time that Paramount fucked Spock. If you remember, they put out all those action figures in his likeness, and he got zero, not one red cent for his likeness playing that part.
Oh.
And now, with Zachary Quinto gets nothing at all, while some fake guy plays him. And then we have to look at Tom fucking Selleck. I mean,
No.
please. I mean, what is he coming back in a series for Paramount? McGruff the Crime Dog? What the fuck? What do I want?
Well,
Yes, Stephanie.
At least we got to see Beavis and Butthead.
yeah, Beavis and Butthead. Jesus Christ.
But at least
Used
they were
to
real.
crack.
Kind of. Yeah, and then to see Snooki, I just wanted her to be swallowed by a giant crevice, and we just. I tried to forget.
Raped by a Yeti.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Ugh.
That is my absolute low light of the broadcast. And a lot of people are harping on Tony Romo that he didn't have his best, The other thing, Amanda Gorman, I know up top of the program, I was a little bit critical, and I still am. I don't want to see that. Really, you know what I think of? They choose people, and it's based on being telegenic, you know. And I understand that nobody wants to see my fucking catcher's mitt face on a television broadcast. I get that, but there are other artists too, and you don't need to find the flavor of the week. And we'll see if anybody knows who Amanda Gorman is a year from now. I don't even know that that's the case. And the Vince Lombardi thing threw me for a loop. I mean, and that's it. Those were the things that were like really unwatchable for me. And Tony the Calf would be proud. I see that you have your offensive coordinator, Tony, now set for the future in Minnesota.
Yeah, Clint Kubiak. God almighty. I wish my dad would have given me a fucking career. What the hell?
Yeah, well, and what has he ever done that would indicate that? I mean, how was the offense last year?
It was pretty good, all things considered. Our defense really let us down, but the only reason they're keeping him is because they don't want to get rid of the offense. They want they want to keep, whatever success they had last year in the offense, and why not go from, the guy who retired and just put his son in there? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I'm so tuned out on the Vikings, I could care less anymore.
But that's all part of the Old Boy Network.
Yep.
Just keep that Kubiak name out there.
Yep.
And all I remember about Gary was that he was the reluctant dragon, the guy who they kept saying, you're going to be the next head coach. And he just was reluctant and he never took the job in Denver. And, so now his son is the offensive coordinator of the Vikings. So, just another position that gets handed to somebody who's got lineage. So I guess it's all part of a, lineage thing.
Right.
All right. So it's 6 after 7, and I guess we're complete. You have anything you want to say in passing, Stephanie, before we get off the air here?
I just want to say congratulations to the Buccaneers on a hard-fought victory last night. Well, maybe not so hard. It was a really hard-fought victory. I mean, the results speak for themselves. So they may have had a little help there in that first half, but got to give it up to them. The best team won, and that's all we can really ask for.
Oh, God help us. God help us. What have I created here? Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again, by golly. This is a promise. We'll be back again on Friday. And if I'm not in a body bag after playing tennis tomorrow night, I'm actually going out in the evening with my fading vision and bad back. This ought to be really interesting.
So Saturday went well, Mark?
Yeah, it did. I got through that, and now I got to, play at night under the lights. I'm going to feel like Mr. Magoo. That's an old Jim Backus reference that I don't expect younger people. Look up Mr. Magoo.
Yay!
Don't wind up in a body bag, and hopefully the house doesn't burn down from that barbecue grill.
Oh, God. Yeah. Tony was here. We cooked a mistake and goddamn burned the house down damn near.
I was talking to Roxanne, and all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off, and I almost fell out of my chair. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah,
I look over there, you just see flames billowing.
Dying of fire, So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back here on Friday with the next installment of Moohead Radio, and God only knows what we'll be talking about, but you never know. So tune in and find out. Until next time, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Fire school.